Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum Portfolio Podcast, dem Podcast für kreative UnternehmerInnen, die sich mit ihrem Portfolio in der Kreativbranche sowohl wirtschaftlich als auch kreativ nachhaltig positionieren wollen. Bist du das? Dann bist du hier genau richtig. Mein Name ist Franziska Walter und jetzt geht's los mit einem Kopfsprung in die nächste Folge. Let's go! Hey, friend! Welcome to the Portfolio Podcast. If you are an English-speaking listener, please skip ahead 3 minutes to hear the English language introduction. Und wenn du Deutsch sprichst, hey, herzlich willkommen zu dieser neuen Episode des Portfolio Podcasts, die, Trommelwirbel, Tamtaratam, die erste Podcast-Folge mit einem englischsprachigen Interview sein wird. Denn heute habe ich die großartige niederländische Illustratorin, Buchautorin und Künstlerin Marloes De Vries in den Portfolio-Podcast eingeladen. Marloes und ich sprechen darüber, welche Marketingstrategien sie benutzt, um Aufträge zu generieren und wie sie genau die Menschen findet, die ihre Arbeiten lieben. Marloes schreibt seit 2012 einen sehr erfolgreichen Newsletter, weshalb Newsletter-Marketing der Startpunkt für unser Gespräch ist. Aber wir haben auch darüber gesprochen, warum Kreative mutige Menschen sind und irgendwie auch sein müssen und welche Schwierigkeiten sich vielleicht auch ergeben, wenn du dein Marketing mit den typischen Erfolgsindikatoren des klassischen Marketings misst. Es ist also ein mit Wissen und Erfahrung gefülltes Gespräch und ich freue mich riesig, dass du es gleich hören wirst. Für den Fall, dass du das Interview lieber in Deutsch lesen möchtest, findest du einen Link zum deutschen und auch zum englischen Transkript in den Shownotes. Hier noch eine kurze Randnotiz. Auch wenn ich schon seit 3 Jahren jetzt in Finnland lebe und weil mein Finnisch einfach für 99% aller Interaktionen noch nicht reicht, spreche ich einfach hier jeden Tag Englisch. Trotzdem war ich super aufgeregt in diesem ersten englischsprachigen Interview und das hört man sicherlich in meinem Englisch heraus. Deshalb die Bitte an dich, please be kind, hab Geduld mit mir und mit meinem Englisch. Genau, Randnotiz, Ende. Und dann lass uns mal keine Zeit verlieren und loslegen. Bevor das Interview beginnt, kommt noch eine ganz kurze englischsprachige Einführung und dann geht's auch schon los mit dem Interview mit Marloes De Vries. And here's promised a short introduction in English. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. The Portfolio Podcast is for you if you want to establish a sustainable business as an illustrator or designer. Are you that kind of person? Then you've come to the right place. My name is Franziska Walter. I'm an illustrator, designer and writer myself, originally from Germany, currently living in Finland. This is the first episode of the Portfolio Podcast with an English language interview, because today I've invited the awesome Dutch illustrator, writer and artist Marloes De Vries to join me. Marloes and I talk about what marketing strategies she uses to generate commissions and how she finds exactly the people who love her work. Marloes has been writing a very successful newsletter since 2012, which is why newsletter marketing is the starting point for our conversation. But we've also talked about why creatives are brave people, maybe even the bravest of them all, and we've also talked about the difficulties you might also face when you measure your marketing with the typical success indicators of traditional marketing. So it's a conversation filled with knowledge and experience, and I'm super excited for you to hear it. Here's a quick side note. My native language is German, and this is actually for me the first time to interview a person in English. So I was super nervous, and you can certainly hear that in my English. Therefore, I want to ask you, please be kind. Please be friendly, have patience with me. And having said that, let's dive into the interview. with Marloes. Enjoy. Okay. Hello, Marloes. I'm so happy to have you here in the Portfolio Podcast as a guest. Welcome. And yeah, I'm so much looking forward to our conversation about email marketing and maybe about how marketing might be different from traditional marketing strategies when done so by an artist. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited too.
Before we dive in, I would like to start with another question, like another topic. I'm always interested in like how people find their way in life, or like how do people find their calling. And this is probably because of my own history. Like I myself took a few detours until I finally arrived where I am supposed to be. Like before I became an illustrator and a designer, I was an architect, like in my first life. That's why I would like to ask you, how did you find your calling? And is your calling to be an illustrator, writer, and painter, or is it maybe something else, like maybe a message or something you want to share with human beings?
Oh, that's such a good question, because when you said, I found my calling, I thought, have I found my calling yet? I think I'm very much on the finding my way to my vocation. I'm really figuring out still, even when I'm almost 40 years old now. I'm 38 now. I'm still finding my way and what suits me, and it's been a long road for me as well. I started out I did art school, and I did visual communication there. So after art school, I went to be a graphic designer and art director for marketing agencies.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point I felt, I'm always creating what other people want me to create. So there's always an assignment, like do this, make a logo, make a website. And I thought, no, I want to do something that I want to make. So I started to freelance. So I quit my job at a marketing agency. And very quickly, there were these old clients that came, but can you still do a logo for me, or can you still do a website for me? And I thought, oh, okay, I'm a people pleaser. So yes, that's fine. I will do that. And before I knew it, I was, again, just graphic designing and not doing what I wanted to make. So it took me a little while before I became an illustrator. And when I decided to become an illustrator, I really was focused on that. So I started to look for assignments and to look for jobs. And still, there was something missing. So I was illustrating, but still I was illustrating for clients. So again, with the graphic design, people were telling me what they wanted to have drawn by me.
Mm-hmm.
This is not it either. So in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I started painting again, which was something I did in art school. And then it felt like I really clicked. So when I was making my own paintings and I was making my own work, what I wanted to tell and what I wanted to make, I thought, well, this is what I want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still figuring out how to do that, because it's quite tricky to make your own work without clients. So if you have a client, you you get paid. So they will give you an assignment, you get money for that, and it feels really secure.
Mm-hmm.
And being an artist and doing what I want to make, and then hopefully sending it out, and hopefully someone will buy it, it's really scary. So I'm still figuring out how to do that.
Yeah, I can relate to that so much. My channel for my own voice are my books. I usually have one book project, which is just for me. I can do all the decisions. I can make all the decisions. It's just my thing where I can express myself in the way I want to. And yeah, and I love your paintings. I'm such a big fan.
Oh, thank you.
These like pink skies.
Yeah, they make me so happy. So that you asked me if I have a message, and I think that is more what because I had to write an artist statement. I don't know if you ever did that, but I was in this coaching thingy, and the coach asked me, "Can you write an artist statement?" She gave me kind of a few questions, and she asked me, "What do you want to achieve? What is your mission? What do you want people to feel when they look at your work?" And that was really insightful for me, because then I understood that it's not about the medium. So it's not about if I'm doing graphic design or illustration, or if I'm doing paintings. It's about the message. So the medium is second. So the message is first. So what I want to do with my work is to make people feel more connected. So I would really hope that someone looks at my work and sees a little bit of themselves in my work, and then feels seen and understood, and then feels like they are connected to me through a painting, or it can also be a book that I'm writing, like in text, or through an illustration. But that's the main thing, that people feel connected. Because if people feel seen and they feel allowed to be themselves, which is also my message, you are always allowed to be yourself. I feel that people are allowed to be authentic, to be themselves. And I think the world gets a little bit better when people are allowed to be themselves.
This is such a beautiful message.
Thank you.
And I can see it. Like when I see your work, I totally see this message ingrained in your work. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, thank you for seeing that, because it sometimes makes me feel insecure, and it's scary, because you're doing something in the hopes that people will see it and also feel it. So yeah, if someone tells me, I sense it, and I think, oh yes, this gives me goosebumps. That if, like you just said, and I got goosebumps immediately. I thought, oh yes, that's my mission accomplished.
Yeah, and it takes guts, doesn't it? For me, I can say it's so important to allow myself the space to express myself in this way that I am seen by other people, but at the same time, it's so scary.
Oh, it's the scariest thing. It's scary to be vulnerable as well, because if you allow others to see you, I feel that if I allow people to see me, then in that way I allow them to be seen as well. So I honestly believe that in order for other people to open up, I have to open up. I think that's the best way to make a connection. But that's so scary, because basically you have this shield around you, like, oh, this is my space and don't come into my space. And you have to lower your shield. And you lower your shield so that people can connect to you, but also you can get hurt easily. So yeah, you're more of a target, I feel. But in the long run, I feel that it has given me more to open up. So I don't feel like I'm used as a target as much. I feel like I'm very much surrounded by very sweet and lovely people. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to take the first step. You have to decide to be seen so other people can open up also and can also connect.
Yeah.
So yeah, you cannot wait until someone else is like trying to connect to you. Like you have to do it yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think most of us are waiting for others to open up so that we can plug in, like we're a little, I don't know, a socket with a plug. But I think if you really want to make connections with people, you have to take the first step and open up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do that in my work. I try to do that as much as possible. And still I find it scary, but I think I'm getting there.
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful and authentic perspective on artistic work. Like what does it do? It's not just beautiful, it connects people. I remember when one of my books came out, my graphic novel, a couple of years ago, I had this moment just before I sent the files to the printer. In this moment, I realized, oh my God, like so many people will see this. And it tells so much about me. And then people will see it. And it was so scary. And at the same time, I realized you have to share something to connect to people.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think a lot of artists are really brave people, because they understand that it's about making connections. I think a lot of artists understand that. So they are really brave for showing up and showing their work, even though the thing is that if you show your work, for me, it always invites criticism. And I think I'm most scared of that, to be judged. So that's what I'm writing a book right now about my choice not to have children. And honestly, it's the scariest thing I've ever did, because there's so much judgment around that choice. And I'm really preparing myself, like I'm going like a knight. I'm dressing myself in metal and putting up my shield, like I'm ready for this battle. But also I want to be really vulnerable in this about my choice. But that's the thing that I sometimes struggle with. Or if I make something, how will people perceive my work? How will people judge me for it? Will they understand?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remind myself that as soon as I put something out in the world, it's out of my hands how people will respond.
So true.
So I'm in my bubble and I'm making my work and I want to make it as authentic and personal as possible. And I try not to occupy myself with the thought that an audience is going to see this. But as soon as I've hit send or press, or when it's out in the world, I remind myself, now it's out of my hand. I'm not allowed to, how do I say this? It's out of my hand. So I can't control how people will perceive my work. And I shouldn't be occupied with that. I shouldn't be busying my head around that.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I would add, like, I for myself had this kind of aha moment where I realized if there are people there who love it, there will always be people who don't like it. The only other option is to have people who don't have like any response to it. Like, if you don't want to invite criticism, you have to deal with a life in the mediocre, like in the medium space, you know,
and I also feel that because I'm really a people pleaser. So in the most perfect way, in my most perfect, I don't know, I want everyone to like me. But I've also come to realize that if you want everyone to like me, you have to be really plain. Like, you have to be, what I said in my newsletter course as well, you have to be a really plain sandwich without any filling for everyone to like you. But I think it's so important. And I think it's actually good when people really dislike your work, because if people really dislike your work, there are also people that are really in love with your work.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what we want to aim for. If everyone thinks, yeah, it's okay, then you're safe in your work. But I don't know, for me, that's not what I want to achieve. I want for people to love my work. And that automatically means there are people that are going to hate my work. But that's fine.
Yeah.
Because people are going to love it too.
Exactly. So good.
Genau.
Genau. Okay. I have one other question off topic. Money is always one of my favorite topics because, you know, like it's an important topic when you want to earn your living with your work. And without earning money, the illustration and the design practice is just a hobby. But earning enough money is not always easy. Like, for most people, it's actually pretty difficult. And I would like to normalize it a bit. And because of that, I would like to ask you, you are a very versatile person, like a very versatile creative person. You are an illustrator, a writer, an educator, and a painter, like an artist. Are there also economic reasons for your multiple professions?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, if I'm really honest, there is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be completely honest now with you, because I feel comfortable. Yeah, there is. Because I always ask myself the question, what would I do if money was no issue? So if I had just plenty of money in my account and I could do whatever I want. And if I'm totally honest, I would do different things that I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the honest truth. I am doing certain things to earn myself a living. And I kind of see that as my day job. So I have work that brings in money. And with that money, I allow myself time, or I pay myself time. No, how do you say this? I do certain stuff for money so that I can buy myself time to do the things that I really want to do. That's how I should phrase it. So, for example, I do some kind of commercial job that pays well, so that I can buy myself time to make paintings, which is maybe not as well paid as the commercial jobs. So, for example, I do teaching because I really enjoy telling about my profession and what I've learned. But that's also a nice source of income, of course. Teaching is very stable in that way. So I do like it. I wouldn't have done it if I don't like it, but it's also just a nice income. And I work for magazines on a weekly basis that are just bringing in steady income as well. And I sometimes wonder, would I do that if I didn't need the money? And sometimes, if I'm really honest, I don't know if I would do that. Because if I had a sugar daddy, or if I would have earned a lot of money from some grandmother that passed away, I don't know, I think I would do lots and lots more painting.
Mm-hmm.
And I would still write and illustrate books. I don't know how it is exactly in the rest of the Europe, but in the Netherlands and Belgium, it's really low paid. So books, illustrating books is just, you can't make a living. If I earn €3 an hour, that's a lot for a book. So it's not really, I always say making books is a sort of charity thing. So I create books because I think books are necessary, and I love books to bits. But that's only because I have so much love for it, because money-wise, it's just not working.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would make more books and make more paintings if money wasn't an issue. So I do a lot of things to make money. And I was a graphic designer first because I thought I couldn't make a living with art and illustration. So I did that first. So slowly I'm getting to a point where I'm doing the things that I really love. But it's been a long road, to be honest.
I appreciate your honesty so much. And I, for myself, can say I have actually pretty much the same strategy. Like if I win the lottery, I would make books. Like this would be the thing I would do like every day because it makes me so happy. And I enjoy all my other like professions or markets I work on. I enjoy it a lot, but I wouldn't do it if I don't have to, because then I would just sit here and illustrate my own books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's sometimes good to ask yourself the question, what would I do if money was not an issue? And then write down a little list of, oh, I would do this, this, and this. And for me, that is really like a guide to what I want to aim for, what I want to work towards. So I ask myself, there's this wonderful speech by Neil Gaiman, the author, and he does this commencement speech at a university, and he says somewhere in the speech, says, does this bring me closer to the mountain? So in his mind, there's this mountain, and he works towards that mountain. So every job he does, he asks himself, does this bring me closer to the mountain? So sometimes you do something that doesn't necessarily bring you closer to the mountain, but for example, pays well, then you can do that so that you get a little closer to what you really want to do.
Yeah, this is a good metaphor or picture for it. And I, for myself, I can see like since I have accepted this, that like the thing I want to do is on an economical level, maybe it's just not possible to make enough money with it. It created this space of gratitude. Like I'm so grateful actually for so many of my commissions, because I know they create the kind of financial freedom to do projects I really love.
Yeah.
And for me, this is like a very good kind of like compromise, but it's not,
yeah,
it doesn't have a bitter taste. I'm so grateful for these like opportunities to work, I don't know, like economically successfully as an artist.
That's exactly how I feel as well. It maybe comes across hard that I maybe wouldn't do those commissions, but at the same time, I'm really grateful as well, because those commissions and those jobs allow me to make my art and to make the books. So then those are really important to me as well. So it's not to say that those commissions are not important. They are, because they allow for me to do other work as well that I find really important. So it has to be a nice balance. And if that balance is right, so for example, at one point 2 years ago, I fell into a burnout, and I realized that I was doing too many commissions that weren't aligned with what I really wanted to do. So they didn't suit me really well. And I didn't have any time to do my personal projects. So then I realized, okay, I have to be really strict. What am I going to do? Because I also did commissions that paid really bad and I didn't even like. And so I thought I really have to let go of those kind of commissions and have to focus on commissions that are with nice people, with nice clients. I have a lot of nice clients, I have to say. I'm very lucky. And that also pay relatively well, so that I can also do my personal projects, which are really important to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm same.
Yay!
Yeah, it helps to prioritize and to be like very focused on like, is this something which helps me to get to the mountain? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Exactly.
What do you think? Let's start on today's topic. Email marketing for creatives.
Yeah, how to do that.
How to do that. And also, maybe we can talk about it like in this like broader sense, but because you have been creating a very successful newsletter for many years, I would like to start there, and then we can maybe widen the window a little bit, or like to widen the lens.
I like widen the window better. Because I see it visually, like a window that's opening up. That's really nice.
I wanted to ask you, can you still recall why you started your newsletter many years ago?
Yeah, I think it's good to tell that I have been a geek, a proper nerd, since I was about 13 or 14 years old. So I was doing websites and stuff. So I started my newsletter, I think in 2012 already. So that's been 11 years. Mm-hmm. And it was around the time that Instagram was coming up, but was not really big. And I was already doing illustration, and I needed a way to promote myself. I think that has to do with my marketing background as well, because I worked at a marketing agency and then was going freelance. So I really understood I have to do something to get my name out and for people to know what I'm doing. So because Twitter and Instagram weren't that big yet, I started a newsletter because that was kind of the way to go. You make a newsletter, or you go make flyers that you put in people's mail slots from home to home. But I wasn't going to do that. So I think I made a newsletter and I sent it out maybe 3 times a year. So not that much. And I was doing that and I really enjoyed it because I looked up the older newsletter and they were really cute. I didn't really know how to do this because they were really naive and it was nice and I loved to do it. I think that's the main thing. You have to love to do something for it to be successful. And then Instagram came around and I completely fell in love with Instagram. And from 2010, that was. I started in 2010 and then in 2013, 2014, it really picked up for me. So I focused almost all my energy for marketing on Instagram. And then in 2020, I was still sending my newsletter maybe 2 times a year, 3 times a year, not that often. But I would continue to do that. But in 2020, I decided I will go do a monthly email newsletter. In 2020, I felt that Instagram was going down a bit. I saw that I was getting less likes. I saw that the engagement was dropping. And my gut instinct told me, this is going down. You have to come up with something new. So I'm a big fan of following your instincts. So in 2020, I decided to do a newsletter every month. And that was really successful because people knew what to expect. They knew when to expect it. So that's when I started, basically. And because with Instagram, I was right before the big wave in 2010 when I started. And I could grow on Instagram very big because I was one of the first. Not the first, but I was one of the first. And if you are very early with something, you are able to grow very big. And that has always been the case. You have the early adapters and that kind of stuff. So with the newsletter, it was kind of the same in 2020. Not that many people were sending newsletters. So I could ride that wave again and build, quite a big newsletter list, which is almost 8,000 people now. I have no idea how many people that are. I think a lot.
This is impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really bad with numbers. Really, I suck at numbers. 8,000 seems like a lot. So yeah, and that has grown because I was a little bit earlier. But I still think that newsletters are a really nice way to talk about your work because it's not as quick as Instagram. For example, on Instagram, you're very dependent on an algorithm to be seen. You have very short attention span of people. So people are really eager to scroll further and they will not read what you've written. And I think a newsletter is a perfect way for people to stand still, look at the newsletter, read everything, click the links you want them to click, and add some pictures to make it nice to look at.
Yeah, definitely. It also requires a little bit more commitment to sign up for a newsletter than to click just follow on Instagram. And
yeah, absolutely. I think so as well.
Yeah, and I can tell you, like, I started my newsletter in 2021. It's been 2 years now, and I usually write on a weekly basis. And I have now something around like 1,000 people on my list. So like 8,000 is a very impressive number.
Yeah, and still, I don't think it's necessarily about the numbers. So we tend to measure success by numbers. And I have a hard time with that as well, because on Instagram, I have a lot of followers. It used to be more, actually. It's been going down since 2020, which is fine. I'm perfectly okay with that. But I remember that sometimes I got an email from a client, a new client, and they will say, yeah, we want you because you have a lot of followers. And I think that's not the right way to approach me. I feel like people need to approach me because they love my work, or they like they think I can do a good job, not because I have a lot of followers. So I'm always a little bit wary about do numbers define success? And I don't think so, to be honest.
So true. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I can only speak for myself, but I can see that even though probably, I don't know, like newsletter experts will say like a list of like 1,000 people is pretty small, I can see that it works pretty well for me. And I also feel, I don't know, like I can see that there might be other challenges which come up when your list is growing. You know, at the moment, I feel pretty much connected to the people who read my newsletter because I don't know all these like 1,000 people, but I know actually a lot of them.
Yeah, I feel that there are a lot of people that say, yeah, if you have a newsletter list of so many people, then you're doing well. And if you make so much money, then you're doing well. And if you so many followers, then you're doing well. I think, no, that's not how life works, because we are all different people and we have all different needs. So you have to have enough for you. So for me, for example, I need a certain amount of money every year to pay all my bills and to have some savings and whatever. But that number is not the same as someone else, because someone else maybe has a more expensive house or whatever, or needs to go on holiday more times a year. So you can never compare numbers actually with each other. So if 1,000 people on your newsletter list is working, then that is perfect. So there's no set of numbers. For me, 8,000. I don't even know. I don't think that when I had 5,000 on my list, or even when I had 2,000 on my list, I wasn't necessarily doing worse than I'm doing now. So all those followers don't mean, or all those subscribers don't mean that I make more money. So I think that's a good bubble to pop here. So yeah,
Yes.
I always tell people that if you have 1,000 people, or even 100, if you have 100 people that love your work and are willing to support you and are willing to pay for your work, that's always better than you're having 100,000 people, of which maybe 5 are willing to pay for your work. So it doesn't say anything.
Yeah, so true.
I think it's all about connection again. If you, like you said, you have a good connection with those 1,000 people, you don't know all of them, but you know a few of them. I think that's so much more valuable than having 100,000 people on your list, and you have no connection with anyone whatsoever.
Yeah, so true. You know, like when I look at my marketing strategies, I always try to find ways to connect to my clients, because the clients who come to me, they usually see the world in a very similar way as I do. And we usually share our values. So I always try to think about ways, how can people see that? Like, how can I connect with them, like human to human?
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, again, if you want to be liked with everyone, you have to become very plain, and you have to say very little. And the more specific you get, so the more you are trusting in your own message and trusting your own work, you will become more specific. Oh, that's a difficult word. Specific. And I think then you will attract the right audience. So sometimes I feel that having a bigger audience is actually a downside, because maybe you're too general, you're too plain.
Yeah.
So maybe having a smaller group is actually better, because you're speaking more to those people because they might love your work. So I would like to argue that having a small audience is actually a really good thing.
Very good reasoning. Yeah, I totally agree. So how do you measure success? Like, how do you define the success of your marketing? How do you know if your marketing is working? Like, is it just the number of commissions, or are there like other metrics, or like maybe you just said like metrics, numbers doesn't really say anything. Are there like other maybe like qualities to measure how successful the marketing strategies are?
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone. It depends on what you want to get out of your work and what you want to do. For me, my markers for success are that I can make the things that I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, I need a certain amount of money every month coming in. So I need to be able to pay my bills. So for me, I say that I find numbers tricky, but of course, I'm always occupied with numbers because I need to make an amount of money every month. So it's important. But what you can't measure in numbers is how people respond to your work and how it touches them. So like you said, you like my work, and then I get goosebumps and I think, oh, she understands what I'm saying. And you can't put a number on that. There's not one, oh, that's worth 60 points. I have no idea. But that means, yeah, I think that means more to me. Yeah, sometimes, if I'm going to be honest, sometimes I wish money wasn't necessary, because I would love to make connections with people all day, and I want others to feel seen, and I want others to think, okay, I'm allowed to be myself. Yeah, and I need money for that because I need to pay bills. But those things are so much more important to me, that people connect with my work and that I can connect to others. Yeah. So you can't measure that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you cannot measure it, but in the end, with marketing and with marketing strategies, it's kind of nice to have something to measure. Do you have maybe some tips?
Yeah.
What could help to become to figure out or to identify what's actually working and what's not?
Yeah, I don't want to be a hypocrite, because of course it helps that if you have 1,000 people, in my opinion, is a lot to have on your newsletter list. But you have to get there. It's a bit like, I don't want to say shooting with hail, but you do have to do things to attract people. To, like, you're a fisherman and you're putting your net out in sea and you want to catch some fish. You want to have people around you that see your work. For me, it helps to not only share work, so not only share the illustrations I made or what I'm doing. I also share personal bits. So if I went to an exhibition and I was very inspired, so I always share in my newsletter, for example, what inspires me, because that's kind of the foundation on which my work is built on.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to add always something personal, to show also the human behind the work, because I think people buy from people they like.
Definitely, yeah.
I tend to buy artwork and I tend to buy illustrations from people that I think I will like. So I'm a little bit judgmental in that. So if I like someone, I will buy their work. Whereas if someone makes amazing work, but I don't like them as a person because they are really hateful or they're racist or whatever, then I won't buy their work, even though their work is maybe really good. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how I do it. And I think a lot of people do that with me as well. So I hope to show them a little bit of who I am, because that also explains why I make the work that I make.
Mm-hmm.
So my work is very personal. The paintings that I make and the illustrations are very often really closely related to who I am as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I show a little bit of my personal side in my marketing as well.
Very good. What kind of other marketing strategies or channels do you use to promote your work, like besides your newsletter and your Instagram?
Actually, nothing. So I used to be on Twitter and I am on LinkedIn and I'm still on Facebook. But on Facebook, I'm mostly talking to my old aunts and to my mother. I don't know if that's a good marketing tactic for me, but for some people, it still really works very well. So I think, yeah, for everyone works something different. I am on LinkedIn, but I don't know how it works. I don't know how to talk on LinkedIn. There's so many business people that are just talking about, oh, I've got a new position in my job. And I think, I have no idea what you're doing. I don't understand what's going on. So yeah, I think you have to find something that you are feeling really comfortable in. So what are the platforms that fit with your work? And Instagram used to fit really well with my work. And now I'm reconsidering that, because it has changed so much and it's so much video.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why I'm not on TikTok. on TikTok, you have to make videos as well. And I'm just not a person that enjoys making videos.
Yeah, me neither.
So yeah, I have to figure it out. Yeah. So newsletters work for me because it has no videos.
And do you like, because for me, for example, like for my, like everything which happens in the publishing world, book fairs are actually the thing which works for me the best. Like just going to a book fair, meeting people in person, talking with them, getting to know them. Because as you said, like in the end, people only work with people they actually like.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
Yeah, and do you do these kind of marketing strategies as well, like going to a book fair or like maybe sending postcards, like the old-fashioned stuff?
No, I actually don't, but I do want to start with that because I think that fits me better than being on social media right now, as the way social media is right now, because I don't particularly like it at the moment. Maybe I will change. But I'm actually really introverted. So for example, I'm going to a network event tomorrow. And yeah, I'm not shitting my pants, but but it's really scary for me because I'm actually kind of shy. For example, one-to-one, I'm perfectly fine to talk like what we're doing right now. That's fine for me, but I'm rubbish in a group. I don't know when to speak. I don't know if I can interrupt someone. I don't know if they would be slightly interested in what I have to say. So that's really scary for me. So that's why I started to love Instagram so much and social media so much, because you would just put out your message and then you would see whoever would respond. And that worked really well for me, for my introvert self.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm kind of sad that Instagram is going this way and that it's changing so much. Yeah, but that's the way I work. So I put out my message, I tell people what I do, and then I let people come to me. And that's basically because maybe my insecurity as well, my fear of rejection maybe. But I find it really scary to send an email or a postcard to a publisher or to a client and for them to say, sorry, no, we're not interested. Because to be honest, I've done that a couple of times, maybe 10 times in my whole career. So I know that's not a lot, but I've put out an email or a postcard to a publisher and they've all rejected me. So I have a 100% score of people rejecting me that way. So that makes it really hard for me to pursue that way because I'm so scared of being rejected again. Whereas social media has always been really good for me because I used to get all my clients out of Instagram, like plenty of work. So yeah, I'm figuring out again about how to do that. But yeah, I do want to send out postcards and I do want to go to more network events and just get comfortable in that. And to, get comfortable with being rejected as well.
Yeah, I can relate to that so much. Social happenings in groups are like hell for me. A group bigger than 5 people maybe is really difficult and stresses me out and I get anxious and it's very stressful for me. But I've learned it's a social skill. I have become better in interacting with groups and like also in my design work, I've learned to kind of like guide groups of people through a process and I can do it. But at the beginning of my career, I couldn't. I really had to learn it. And like for myself, I figured like, yeah, you have to learn it. You have to really do it to learn it. You know, without doing it, it will not happen. Also, rejection. For the first 3 years as an illustrator, I only got like 1 commission. And I sent out so many postcards and portfolios and I went to book fairs and it was such a difficult time, but at the same time, it's kind of a nice experience to see like you don't die. Like I survived.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
And actually, like most people, especially in the publishing world, even if they say like, no, we don't need your stuff, they're usually very friendly. So it's not that they're usually not mean. So this is also a very nice thing to learn. And in the end, luckily, after a certain amount of trying and also like positioning myself better, I found the people who really I dare to say like love my work. Yeah. And suddenly everything opened up. Suddenly I had commissions and everything was easy. It was a good experience. The not dying part.
That's always the best part, the not dying part. Yeah, and to be honest, I used to be really scared of rejection, and I didn't deal with it. But I haven't dealt with rejection in so long, so I have been avoiding it for so long. And I've also had a therapy, and I've gotten older and I got wiser, I hope. So I think it is actually the right time for me to go be out in the world again and to network and to approach people, because I know now that I've grown as a person, so I think I can deal with rejection a lot better than 15 years ago when I started out. So I haven't tried it, actually. I haven't tried to be rejected in the past maybe 5 years or so. So I have to try it, and I think I will be fine. I think I won't die either.
I think so too. Thank you so much, Marloes.
Yeah, very welcome.
Thank you so much for your generosity and for sharing your knowledge with my listeners and me. And here at the end, I would really like to mention that Marloes offers a very awesome mini course that focuses on newsletter marketing for creatives. And I bought it myself, and I can highly recommend it. It's the right amount of information to start. And it's like, I was watching it and was like, if I hadn't started a newsletter yet, I would now start, because it was kind of like, yes, I want to do it. Let's go. So highly recommend it. I will put the link into the show notes. And yeah, Marloes, it would be awesome if we could meet in person someday.
Oh yeah, that would be really great. And then you hopefully you won't reject me and I won't die.
Never.
No, yeah, that's actually because that's so important in my work, connection. And that was actually my idea for this year as well, to meet actually people in person. So it's so different from online if you really meet people in person. So that's really nice.
Yeah. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And kiitos paljon, as the Finns say.
I have no idea what that means.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. So, das war das Interview und deshalb jetzt mal die Frage an dich. Was nimmst du für dich daraus mit? Hast du jetzt auch so richtig Lust bekommen, mit einem Newsletter genau die Menschen zu erreichen, die deine Arbeit lieben? Kurze Randnotiz in eigener Sache. Wenn du jetzt denkst, ja klar, ich möchte meine Akquise proaktiv in die Hand nehmen, vielleicht auch mit einem Newsletter, dann lade ich dich hiermit schon einmal ganz, ganz herzlich in die Portfolio Akademie ein. Die Portfolio Akademie, das ist ja mein 12-wöchiges Online-Programm für IllustratorInnen und DesignerInnen. Und darin positionierst du dich nachhaltig, sowohl wirtschaftlich als auch künstlerisch. Und damit bekommst du die Werkzeuge an die Hand, mit denen du dir über eine fokussierte und langfristig angelegte Akquisestrategie mit mehreren Akquisekanälen wirtschaftliche und zeitliche Freiheit schaffst, damit du die großen Dinge, die dir wirklich wichtig sind, auch in die Welt bringst. Die nächste Portfolio-Akademie beginnt am 2. Oktober 2023 und du kannst dich heute schon ganz unverbindlich auf die Warteliste eintragen unter www.diegutemappe.de/PA, P wie Portfolio und A wie Akademie. Wenn du auf der Warteliste stehst, bekommst du ein ganz besonderes Wartelistenangebot zum nächsten Start der PA, das nur die Menschen auf der Warteliste bekommen. Das heißt, es lohnt sich. Genau, und damit wünsche ich dir alles Liebe. Wir hören uns wieder nächste Woche. Ich freue mich auf dich. Bis dann. Tschüss. Wow, du bist immer noch da. Du bist der Knaller. Ich freue mich sehr, dass du dir die Podcast-Folge bis hierhin angehört hast. Hier nochmal der Hinweis, du findest alle Links in den Shownotes. Auf meiner Seite www.diegutemappe.de findest du noch weitere, auch viele kostenlose Ressourcen, um dich besser aufzustellen, um dein Portfolio zu überarbeiten und um damit dann einfach mehr Aufträge zu akquirieren. Deshalb schau dich da gerne mal um und wenn dir die Folge geholfen hat, dann freue ich mich sehr, wenn du sie auf Apple Podcast bewertest und ihr ein paar Sterne schenkst. Oder noch besser, sie einfach KollegInnen und FreundInnen weiterempfiehlst. Dann haben deine FreundInnen vielleicht auch ein paar Aha-Momente und du unterstützt damit gleichzeitig auch den Podcast. Denn Weiterempfehlungen und Rezensionen und Sterne sorgen dafür, dass der Algorithmus versteht, dass der Podcast Relevanz hat für GestalterInnen, DesignerInnen und IllustratorInnen. Ich danke dir jetzt schon einmal ganz herzlich dafür und wir hören uns wieder nächste Woche. Bis dann. Tschüss.